This year marks the 40th anniversary of Proton, and the company has quite the car to celebrate the occasion. This is the third X series model and Proton's first hybrid car. Proton has given us the opportunity to check out the Proton X90 before its launch. Let's have a closer look at the all-new Proton X90. Proton has revealed that the X90 will come in 4 variants. There's the Standard, there's the Executive, there's the Premium and the Flagship. The Flagship is the only variant with the 6 seats. From the front, it has a very nice family look with the X70 and X50, and it is unmistakably a Proton. You get Proton's full LED headlights at the front and an evolved version of the Infinite Weave for the new grille with the new Proton emblem. Being a 6 or 7-seater vehicle, the X90 is quite large by Malaysian standards. On the front door, there's a badge that says 48 volts that hints at the hybrid powertrain. Wheels are 18 inches in size for the Standard and Executive variants and 19 inches for the Premium and Flagship variants. Around the wheel arches are nice indents that give the X90 a rather muscular look. You get keyless entry for the driver and the front passenger door, and on the side mirrors you can see the cameras for the 360-degree view. Being a large SUV, the X90 does come with roof rails in case you're the adventurous kind. Despite having roof rails, it does not have aluminium running boards on the sides. An interesting thing about the X90, well, it does get a multi-link rear suspension setup, which is actually special for the Malaysian market. Geely versions of this car in other regions come with a torsion beam setup, and Proton says that this has been done after studying the road conditions in Malaysia. If you squint, the X90 from the back does look a bit like the Iron Man mask. There is a trim that runs between the 2 tail lights. There are Proton letterings, X90 letterings, but nothing to hint at the hybrid nature of the X90. An interesting thing about the X90, well, it gets an intelligent power tailgate. Now, this tailgate doesn't come with a kick sensor, but if you have your keys with you and you stand behind the car for about 5 seconds, the hazard lights will blink 5 times and the tailgate will open by itself. While that may be clever, I do find that the placement for the electric release for the boot to be a bit weird. It is placed not on the tailgate but underneath it. If you peek underneath the rear bumper, well, you will see that the X90 has a single exhaust tailpipe, and there is also a space saver spare wheel. On top of all of that, the X90 comes with a walkaway auto lock and a nearby auto unlock function, which is a first for Proton cars. Inside, the Proton X90 may be a little bit dull to some due to its color choices. It is a nice premium interior nonetheless, with a good amount of soft touch materials, although it doesn't cover the entire cabin. This is the flagship variant, so we get a 6-seater configuration, but for the other 3 variants, it is a 7-seater configuration. So the flagship comes with power adjustable seats for both the driver and front passenger seats. Both the first row and second row seats in the X90 are quite nice, as they have a rather good support and a good bench length. The steering gets tilt and telescopic adjustment, and overall the ergonomics in the X90 are pretty good. The armrest is at a good position, and so is the gear lever and the steering wheel. Storage-wise, well, it does have some clever things like a bottom tray for the center console, and the center console armrest has a rather large storage bin. You also get a wireless charger inside the Proton X90, and for the first time ever in a Proton car, there is a USB Type-C socket, but it is only for the second row passengers. Everything else is a USB Type-A socket. At the center of the dashboard is a 12.3-inch head unit with a rather nice display. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. There is also a digital instrument cluster in the X90. The second row in the X90 flagship is a rather nice place to be in, with supportive seats. You get a panoramic sunroof and armrest. If there's one thing that could make the X90's second row a bit better, well, it could use some blinds for the windows. Storage space for the second row, well, you do get a bit of a cubby space underneath the USB sockets, and you do get pockets behind the front seats. As for ventilation, well, you do get vents, but they are not on the center console, they are on the roof. To access the third row, you can simply walk through both the second row seats. Space is rather good and can fit 2 adults comfortably. At the back, each passenger gets a USB Type-A socket. You'll also notice that the floor for the third row is a bit higher than the second row. Okay, so Proton has given us the opportunity to drive up Genting Highlands today before the launch with the X90. So we've driven from the Center of Excellence and right now I'm on the way all to the top. So far, driving impressions, well, comfort. One of the main highlights of the X90 is the fact that you get a multi-link rear suspension setup, and that is special for Malaysian market. And so far, comfort, well, suspension, it is on the softer side of things, but not too soft. We've driven the car at highway speeds, 120 kilometers an hour on Kara. It felt comfortable, didn't roll too much, so that's good. And relating to comfort, well, NVH is actually pretty good. We've gone up to 120 kilometers an hour. The engine only revs below 2000 RPM at highway speeds, so that's good. Engine sounds relaxed at highway speeds. Wind sound, road sound is also at a minimal level. Ergonomics, well, these seats, they are on the softer side, not too soft, not like the ones you find in the BYD Atto 3. And they actually come with this flap on the headrest that helps you keep your head in one spot, so that's a nice touch. Armrest, gear lever position, steering wheel girth. There's a new steering for a Proton car here. Feels good in your hands. As for performance, well, this is a mild hybrid with a 48-volt architecture. It's 190 metric horsepower, 300 Newton meters of torque. The engine itself, I think it's 177 horsepower and 255 Newton meters of torque. There's a belt starter generator, or a BSG, that gives you 13 horsepower and 45 Newton meters of torque. And that has improved the car's acceleration, also improved its fuel efficiency. Transmission is a 7-speed DCT. It's a nice transmission. The only lacking thing here is that, well, there are no paddle shifters behind the steering wheel for you to switch between those gears. You'll have to opt with the gear lever for that. Now, the mild hybrid system feels effortless on the highway, and it's quite sprightly actually. It's quite light on its feet as we're going uphill right now on Genting Highlands. But you would notice from the sound of this video that it is a bit loud. It does bring out that 3-cylinder sound from the engine, and it kind of sounds like a diesel engine a bit, but not something that should bother you. It just sounds loud, but it is sprightly. It is light on its feet, despite being such a big car. We have 4 people in the car right now. It's feeling quite all right. This is the steeper part of Genting Highlands, and feels effortless. It's very nice. Now, on to safety. So there are new safety features in the X90. You get rear cross traffic alert, which is something I'm sure you're familiar with. A new thing here is that you get rear collision warning. So we're used to having a front collision warning, but rear collision warning, it operates at above 10 kilometers an hour, and when a car is approaching too near behind you, right, and the car predicts that this could be a collision, it actually turns on your hazard lights for your car. So that's new. Another new thing, well, there's a traffic sign information system. That's actually pretty cool. That's actually pretty advanced. It means the cameras are good. It can actually recognize the speed limit signs, whatever signages on the road, and well, it should let you know the speed limit. Now, the ADAS safety system, well, they do feel a bit intrusive. The lane keeping assist, it would sharply, adjust your steering angle, but it's quite hard to find brands which actually make linear and non-intrusive ADAS functions, so it's a rare thing anyway. Shouldn't bother you too much. Now, as for fuel efficiency, now I did mention that this is a mild hybrid, so it's a 48 mile hybrid. So this car records 6.8 liters per 100 kilometers, which is 15% better than what it would have been without the hybrid system. So there's a 1.5 litre TGDI version of this car, and it would be 15% less efficient. 6.8 litres per 100 kilometers. That's on paper. Of course, in real life would be a bit less, but pretty good for a car of this size. Some cars like this with big turbocharged engines are actually pretty thirsty. So I guess 6.8 litres per 100 kilometers is pretty good. And onto the BSG. Yeah? So if you're not familiar, what is BSG? It's a belt starter generator. Some brands would call this maybe an integrated starter alternator, integrated starter generator. And like I said, 13 horsepower more, 45 Newton meters more does make the initial acceleration decent. It helps the engine relax a bit. All in all, well, the X90 isn't something you'd really, drive hard. This is a family car. You want to go for long journeys, you want to relax, you want everyone to be comfortable. The first row seats are great, actually. The length of the bench is great. It's the same thing can be said about the second row seats in the flagship right now, which is the captain seats. It's a nice car for long drives. That's what I can say for now. Of course, if you'd like to know more, wait for our review that will come up in the future. So far, I am quite impressed with the X90. So that's our first impression of the Proton X90, a rather nice premium family car. If you didn't know about it, you wouldn't really realize that it was running a 3-cylinder engine, especially if you were just driving at highway speeds. The X90 is an important model for Proton as it is the brand's first new energy vehicle that coincides perfectly with the brand's 40th anniversary. Official prices of the Proton X90 have yet to be announced, but you can already book the Proton X90 at all 3S and 4S centers nationwide. For more information on the Proton X90, do log on to AutoBuzz.my.